There we go. Hello, everyone. Today's guest is Colleen Carswell, the founder of Structured to Scale. Colleen works with entrepreneurs and business owners to create systems, which we all need, workflows, operational strategies that help them scale sustainably. Her expertise in productivity, delegation, which I need to learn a lot of, and time management has helped countless professionals move from feeling overwhelmed to operating with greater clarity and efficiency. I know I am excited to explore how wedding professionals can apply these principles to build healthier, more profitable businesses. So I want to, get into some information first about you, Colleen. Tell me a little bit what inspired you to create Structured Scale.
Yeah, I think it's been many, many years in the making. I got my start working on cruise ships as an onboard wedding coordinator about 20 years ago at this point. And that opened my eyes to the wedding world, to the event world. I also was the onboard hype girl. Like I got the party started for 70s night and MC karaoke and bingo and dance in the parade, like just a really fun time. But what that time also taught me was not just about, having fun on a cruise ship or doing weddings, but also the operations that are involved in cruise ships in general. I think I find them fascinating in the way in which they are built, in the way in which they serve their customers, in the way in which they serve their teams as well. On ships, we had about 60 people turnover, at least on the ship that I was on. I had about 60 people turn over every single week, meaning 60 new crew members would come on, 60 would go off. So if you think about that from an operational standpoint, it's pretty impressive that they're able to do that. And that now the ships are, triple the size of the ship that I was on at the time. But the fact that they're able to do that across their entire ship means that they really have their systems and their operations tight, which allows them to maximize guest experience and their profitability. So I think that's really, I didn't realize it at the time, but I think that's really what got me on this trajectory of where I am now. And then I stayed in the wedding and event industry space, working in hotels and resorts and country clubs in the catering director capacity for many years. And then I opened up my own wedding planning business and quickly scaled it to, I was in Austin at the time, and quickly scaled it to Dallas and Houston to have teams there as well. And that experience taught me everything that I needed to know. When you do something all wrong and all backwards, but it's like the best thing for you looking back. In the moment, it didn't feel great, but now I have the tools and I learned backwards the way to do things, so that now a lot of the people that I work with, they are multi-location owners, or they aspire to be multi-location owners. So I can say, here's why systems are so important. Here's why we've got to get your infrastructure in place first before we scale and we chase revenue. So that's a little bit about where I've come from and why I now do what I do at Structured to Scale.
Wow. Yeah. And, I think learning from our challenges is key.
Yes.
Definitely key to growth. Awesome. Yes. So I know you mentioned the challenges from, the different locations, but what are some of the biggest challenges that you feel businesses face when trying to grow their business?
Yeah, I think a lot of times we fall back on old patterns and old mindset. And I think we've been taught to scale and to grow that we need to chase revenue, right? And I think that's a big misconception is, if your systems on the back end aren't in support of that revenue growth, then everything's just going to crumble. Everything's going to be harder than it actually has to be. So I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that you have to chase revenue. I'd much rather somebody look internally at their operations first, because typically, just depending on where you're at in business, typically, especially if you have a team already, you can recoup a lot of your money just from looking inward, and then you can focus outwards. But there's a lot, like if you bring in a lot of leads, like if you focus really heavily on marketing, if you pay for ads, if you have a whole audit done on your website and you change all the SEO to bring in more leads and that starts working, well, what if you don't have the team on the back end, number one, to support that lead gen, and number two, to actually serve, if you're booking events, to actually serve those events. So yeah, I think systems are so important in that way. And I wish that more people would kind of focus a little bit on that more than just sales.
I totally agree with you. And I've been of victim of both, focusing on revenue. Like when I started my business, it was like, oh, I had to get these clients, I have to do this. And then you're struggling to put something in place so you don't forget anything for all of these weddings that you've already booked.
Yeah.
And then I've been on the back end where I finally got all my stuff together and I have the systems in place, but then where are the clients?
Right.
So
yeah, it's finding that balance for sure. And I think sometimes you have to be really mindful too. What I have noticed in some people, and I would say even myself, guilty of this at times, but it's like, are you doing the systems work to delay the outreach, to delay like, are you ready? And you're just like delaying doing what you know you need to do. Your systems are solid. So it is finding that balance of where you're actually at to make sure that it all works together.
Awesome. Why do you feel like so many different wedding professionals are consistently overwhelmed?
Yeah, I think it comes back to just conditioning. I talk a lot about how I feel like, especially women, we have put our worth in and our value in the number of things that we're able to do. And the more that we have on our plate, the more valuable we are, the more worthy we are, the more deserving we are, the better we are. And I think that mentality and that mindset shift is one of the key things that keeps us constantly in this do, go mentality. But there really is such power in stillness and silence and slowness to really reflect back. And I don't think, again, I think this is a human problem, but also specifically women. I don't think we give ourselves enough time to be able to do that, because in our mind, like we don't do that. Right? Slowing down is not an option, but sometimes that's the most strategic thing that you can do for your business.
That's the truth. I know sometimes even Saturday mornings now, I don't do many weddings now, but it's like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting my time, because I'm not working. Mm-hmm. And some days, I get up and I start working anyway. Yeah. But sometimes, you have to fight that inner being and no, I need, a mental health day.
Yes.
I need to take a break.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. What do you feel is like the biggest misconception about productivity?
Yeah, there's many. I think I don't like using the word productivity. I use it because people know they get the general idea of what productivity is. But really for me, if I was ideally naming this word, I would call it more energetic alignment. Because if you think about what productivity is, it's from the factory era, the Industrial Revolution, which just measured a machine or a human's ability to say output per input. And if you think about it from that perspective, so many people have it as their goal, like this month or this quarter, I'm going to be more productive. This year, I'm going to my word of the year is productivity. Well, if you don't actually, if you actually think about what that word means, that is you'll do more, right? Like your words matter. If you say you want to do a thing, your results reflect that thing. But at the end of the year, do you just want to give more output per the input that you give? Like, do you just want to do more? So I think that's a big misconception, is what productivity really is. And I would really like to see people understand the value of their energy and time combined. Because I think that's another misconception, is like time is time is time. And this lesson took me a very long time to understand, especially as wedding planners, because we think like we have 5 minutes for this and then 10 minutes for this and then 30 minutes for this. And it's like everything in our mind works in time or on a spreadsheet, at least mine does. And it took me a long time to realize like it's not just the time, it's the energy that we bring to that time. And actually, if we bring that energy to that set of time, that's really high vibe, that is really energizing, that's doing something that we love, that's going to look a whole lot different than doing something that depletes us and drains us and drags on, even if it is the same amount of time. Because when we're doing something that fuels us, our time, actually, our capacity expands to do more. If we do something that drains us, it actually contracts. So I think having that understanding, and again, it took me a very long time to unlearn that, but having that understand that time does not exist in isolation. Time and energy go together would be something that I would hope that people can start learning a little bit more of, because it will have a really big impact for you personally and then for your business as well.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'm feeling that. How do you feel like a wedding professional could, take that and make and not be busy, because I do see us a lot of, even our membership, everybody's trying to be busy, busy, busy,
Right.
but they're not really putting out certain things.
Right.
One of the things our leadership team talked about yesterday was, why aren't these people, our members, using their benefits? And what we've come up with and some of the feedback we've received was, well, everybody's busy, but is busy, making you money for your business? Are you putting your busyness in the right area?
Yeah.
And, the biggest complaint, of course, in everybody is, I don't have enough clients, or I'm not making enough money, but they're busy. So what is what's that difference?
Right. Right. I think that's the output per input mentality. Like we just aim, our goal is to be productive. Our goal then in theory is to be busy. So I think it's getting clear on, number one, the energy side of it, in terms of, what is it that actually fuels you? What are you good at? What are your skills? Like where do you thrive? What are your revenue generating activities? A lot of times people will spend, I like to put them in buckets. I like to say we have our low value tasks and our high value tasks. The low value task doesn't mean that they're not valuable. It just means they're not your high value task. They're not your highest ROI task. So somebody else potentially on the team, or maybe there's this, like if you're not to the team building stage yet, maybe there's a system that you can implement, an automation, like something that you can do to take that particular task off your plate so that your time is focused in on just the higher value tasks. And too, to my point earlier, sometimes I think we stay busy because it's our conditioning, and it makes us feel good because we feel like we're doing something, even though the numbers aren't reflecting our actual efforts. So yeah, I think those would be two things that I would call out too.
That makes sense. What do you feel people waste the most time on? I know I feel like it's social media, but
well, it depends on. So here's the thing. So that's a great example. Like here's the thing. When I do this conversation in rooms, like we have like a show of hands in terms of who feels like what lights you up, and a lot of people hate social media with a fiery passion. And girl, I feel that. And there's other people though that absolutely love it. So it really just depends on where your energy lies. And like, I feel like that energy, I know that energy comes through. Like if you're doing something that you don't really love to do, that's going to come through. But if you're doing something that you do, like if you love social media. So I think when we're talking about where we waste time, I think it's individual to each individual person, because what could look like wasting time to you might look incredibly different to me. And I also use the example of social media. Like sometimes people are like, they have a lot of shame around like scrolling on the phone, but you have to look at the intent behind it and the impact behind it. So if that's actually allowing you to rest your mind, if that's what that's doing for you, then I don't really see a ton of problem. Or if it's making you laugh, like laughter is wonderful. It's beautiful. Like it just depends on why you're using that, and changing everything to understand your unique motivators, your unique patterns, your unique skills, versus saying like, that's just a waste of time. Just because it's a waste of time for us doesn't mean it is for somebody else. So to that, I would say, one of the most powerful things you can do in your business, once you start kind of rewiring your mindset around these different things, is reflect on it. Like that's the biggest thing that you can do in your business, is just reflect on how that's doing. And if you find at the end of the week, hey, I've been really busy, but nothing's moved forward. Well, what are you going to do to fix that? Another tip that I like to give is, I think there's this, sometimes when we spend time doing certain things, we don't actually put it in the right buckets. We're saying we're wasting time. It's really an investment of your time. So one thing I want people to start doing more of, I think there's such power in planning. So planning out your quarters in advance, getting really clear on your goal. I don't particularly love like a full year. I think there's great to have like a theme for a year, but I don't think like planning your whole year in advance, because Lord knows what's going to happen in that year. Like I mean, if you've looked at the last couple of years, like things are just coming left and right that you have no control over. So I think quarterly planning is still smart. Set your goal. And then every single week, as you plan your week, that's when you look at that quarterly goal and you say, okay, what am I going to do this week that is alignment with that goal? So that at least the things that you're doing are moving you in the direction of reaching the goals you want to reach. And then the same thing every single day, you'll do a little piece of that puzzle. So you keep moving towards it. So even if you do have things that are busy and just tasks, at least you're doing one thing that's moving you towards the goal that you strategically took time to set.
That makes perfect sense. Now, I know you touched on time a little bit, and we can't add any more time to the day, no matter how much we want to. How do you feel like wedding professionals can best prioritize their time?
Yeah, I actually think it's going back to that goal activity, setting your goal, getting really intentional with your goal. I like to say, so I call it a smarter goal, but I like to say that it is, it's one. A lot of times people will do their goal plan and they'll have 3 goals. But if you're brand new to this, and even me, I'd still only do one. Like if you're brand new to this or it just works better for you, start with one goal. And then that way you can really prioritize what's important. And you put it against that filter of, hey, I've got this task list of 100 different things to do. What do I do? What do I prioritize? Well, then you put the lens on it of what your goal was for the quarter, and you can start to get really clear on what you want to do around that. Because there are tons of fires that can go out at any minute, and you're constantly having to deal with that. But if you just stay focused on that one thing, at least you're moving your business forward in that way. There are ways in which to do that. So one thing that I really love, and I don't know if we were going to get into this a little bit later, but like I like to think too, if you're feeling really busy, I like to think that you might need some white space in your calendar. Wedding planners, wedding professionals in general are really bad just because of our conditioning as this profession is of like back to back to back time. And I like to see a little bit more buffer space in there to account for like the unexpected opportunities and challenges and emergency situations so that you can get everything done in your calendar that you want to. I also think it's important to plan your week in advance and get really clear on all the different to-do items that you have on your list and look at it very clearly against the time you actually have in your calendar. Because lots of times we only have in our mind and we don't actually see it. So we think, this will be the week that I get everything done. But if you look at your what you've actually got on your calendar, that stuff's still not going to get done. And it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with drive. It has nothing to do with productivity or ambition. It's just the time isn't there. So really getting clear on what time you have available in each of your days too.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that. At what point in time do you feel like a wedding professional should start putting systems and workflows in place?
Yeah, I think it depends. Yeah, I think it depends on what the systems are. I think systems are in support of you at any stage, right? So I think it just depends on what the system is that you're looking for. And I think sometimes people feel like the systems are very rigid and they're too structured and they kind of keep you caged. But if you think about them from a different lens and perspective and think, well, systems are actually, they can be supportive and allow me to do more of the things that I want to do, then that's a completely different way of looking at that. And that will allow you to kind of tap in and overcome that hurdle and that mindset block. So I think getting really clear what systems would be supportive to you. And typically everything I come back to all the time is going to be 3 things. It's going to be planning and reflection on a regular cadence. And then it's also going to be doing a time audit. So I think if you're not clear on the systems that you need, then you need to get clear on the data. A lot of times we'll say, time is money, money is time. We say we treat it the same, but our actions do not reflect that. Like words only carry you to a certain point. Intention only carries you to a certain point. Action is the thing that you really need to make note of. So if we're saying that these 2 things are the same, well, for our money, we have bookkeeping, we have accounting, we have forecasting, we have P&Ls, we have taxes, we have all the things. We have people to help us. We have bookkeepers, we have accountants. We have nothing like that in place for time. And if you don't actually have the data around your time, well, how can you ever understand where you need to look to do things like what systems do I need to put in place? So that's where I always encourage people to start. If they haven't done one of those recently, is to do an audit of their time and see where it's actually going. And then, of course, alongside that is you look at your time You look at the time that it takes you to do each task, and you look at the energy behind those tasks. And then that's how you can get a really good read on your business and where to go from there. But you really have to have the data first.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And I feel too, a lot of times we don't account for the energy behind.
Mhm.
So like productive, well, I'm going to use that word right quick, but the productive day, for me is, between like, and I hate to say it out loud, but between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Yeah.
That is when my energy is at the highest of the day.
Yep.
So I put all the tasks that I really don't like to do or that I need a little more push in those particular times. And then everything else is gravy, because if I get, those 3 hours and those particular things done, then I feel like I've accomplished everything that I need to do for the day. But a lot of times people don't realize when they're at their most productive. They just want to sit and work and work and work. And, you can, like, I know my attention will wander and I'll look out the window or,
Yeah.
So you just never, you have to pay attention and know something about yourself.
Yeah.
Before you, jump into that.
Absolutely. And to that point, I think a lot of it too, I mean, I talk a lot about conditioning mindset because it's so important. It's why our patterns are the way that they are. But I think a lot of it's conditioned from corporate. Like many of us came from the corporate realm. I know I did. And you have this 9 to 5 mentality. Like it's been, even in the way that you go to school, like it's been ingrained in you from the beginning of time. And I talked about this week was, sometimes I took my kids and my nieces and nephew to the movies on Tuesday at 2, right? Like that seems things like that sometimes hit my body. So like it kind of shocks my nervous system. Like, should I be doing this? And to your point of like, I don't want to say it out loud, but like 4 to 7 is like my peak time. And it's like, that's great. Like, I think we just always think like, we've got to be working this 9 to 5 job. And that's not like, we didn't get into business as entrepreneurs to just have a job. We got into business, I mean, for many different reasons. It looks different for every single person, but kind of tapping back into that and understanding that as well, along with what your energy does throughout the day I think is really important. And to your point, everybody's going to look different. Like some people's I've got some people in my life, their most productive time is like 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. I'm in bed by 9:30. That is way too late. But I mean, these are really powerful. And then also the reason I like to talk about reflection and planning, because again, it allows that strategic space to get still and silent and slow. One time, one of the biggest impacts to me is that I realized through my reflection that on really like the weather impacts me greatly. So on like really rainy days, I feel I have a completely different energy than I do on bright sunny days. And so if I look out at my calendar and I'm planning for the week ahead, I take that into account as well. Like I know that this week here specifically has just been rain. So I knew going into it, because I looked at it in advance, I knew going into it how to manage my energy and my tasks around that to make sure that it was still moving my business in the direction that I needed it to.
Oh, that's really good advice too. Yeah. That's great. So how do you feel then about how do systems create more freedom? Because I think that's the ultimate goal is to have that system, create space, for everything, time and space.
Yeah. I mean, you certainly can create more time. People like to say, I need to find time. You don't find time. Time is not your car keys. So you need to create it intentionally. And systems, again, to that point, will allow you to, but it really just depends on what the system is. Or what the need is. Like, what is the thing that's draining your energy, draining your time? And let's find a solution for that. Whether that's hiring somebody, whether that's a system that you need to put in place, an automation, a tool, a software, but really getting specific on the one thing that you want to tackle first. Just as an example, like if you have a really clunky client outreach or the way in which clients reach out to you. So if you have something that's really clunky, maybe it's you don't believe necessarily that we need a website. So it's coming in through Instagram, but Instagram's not like all your messages, you're getting so many leads a day and like they're just piling up and you have no way to capture them and it's taking you far too long. It's a manual process. Like what are some things that you can put into place that would allow and alleviate that stress? Again, though, some people might really thrive in that. They may like jam in the DMs of Instagram, and they need to look somewhere else in the business. So when I think about talking about things like systems and process and operations, it's such an interesting thing to talk about, because at the end of the day, it's unique to you, and it's unique to the data presented to you when you actually look at your time to be able to find a system and or a software app. I really love the fact that we live in 2026. Like if you think about where we're at now, technology wise versus 20 years, even 2 years ago, technology wise, anything that you're looking through your time data and you're saying, oh, this thing, like I hate doing this thing, it takes me way too long. Just take that information and go find a tool for it, because it exists. Like there is literally an app or a tool or software, something exists to support you in the thing that you need. It's not always like, I think sometimes people think, oh, I'm going to have to hire somebody to do this for me, and that's going to take too much time and too much money. Well, first, just see if there's an app. Like typically there's something that already exists. But having that data is going to be the first part, and figuring out what the system is that you need to build to support you and the lifestyle that you want.
Awesome. And I think too, a lot of times when we don't have specific systems or, a knowledgeable way of doing things, I'll say it like that.
Yes.
We burn out.
Yes.
Because we're chasing the dollar. Are there any warning signs that you know of that people should look out for with themselves?
Yeah, I think it can come in several different ways. So I talk a lot about energetic pillars. So if you're measuring your energetic pillars and you're finding that every one of them is pretty low, and I'll talk about what those are in a moment, but if you're finding that every one of those is pretty low, chances are you're on the verge of burnout, or you're already there. So the energetic pillars that I like to look at, because again, time does not exist in isolation. We look at our energy as well, but you have your physical pillar, which is like, how am I moving my body? How am I nourishing my body? How am I resting my body? If that one's looking a little low for you, then that could be a warning sign. You have your mental pillar, your mental energetic pillar, which is your cognitive clarity. So making sure that there's not a lot of clutter and disorganization that lives in your brain, your body, and or in the environment around you. You have your emotional energetic pillar, which is about like, how are you feeling? And it's not just, the thing to remember with these is it's each pillar affects the other one and sometimes infects the other one. And each pillar is not in isolation of just business or personal, right? Like we have our personal side of business, or our personal side and our business life. And we've been taught, again, that conditioning, that they're separate things. But we know, especially as entrepreneurs, that everything impacts everything. So emotional one is a huge one. If you have like something draining you at work, such as maybe there's a team issue that you're having to deal with, and that's taking a lot of your emotional capacity, or maybe you have an issue in your relationship at home that's taking your emotional capacity. And then the last one is spiritual. And that does not necessarily mean religious. It could mean religious for some people, but spiritual is just like, are you in alignment with the thing that you love doing? Are you doing the thing that you got into business to do? Does it feel good and supportive to you to do those things? So if you look at all of those and you start to notice that, oh, actually a lot of those are down low. And if you do this on a regular cadence, you can kind of see the fluctuations over time. Like maybe at one time you were sky high in all your pillars, and now you're like at the very bottom. Well, what happened between now and previously to get you to this point? And yeah, that's an indicator that things are going to burn out unless you work to bring them back up.
Yeah. Wow. That's very interesting. I may come back at you with something because I'm going through it in my head.
Yeah.
And I used to do weddings a lot, and I was one of those people, productivity and chasing the dollar for a very long time.
Yes.
And then I stopped, and I didn't want to. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just had to stop. And so my business waned. And you connect your business with your life, so my income went down, and everything is connected in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. And the only reason I think I picked it up was because I realized that weddings and this industry is my calling. Like that is what I was built for. I was built to eventually run ABC. I was built to, educate and grow and inspire. And that is the only thing some days, that knowledge that keeps these wheels turning.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate you in saying that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's, similar thing with me when I had my wedding planning business, because I did it all wrong. But the similar thing, like I went to the burnout and I think it was number one, I was just done. The business was thriving. I was not, and I was done. But I also don't think I had the tools to support me, because that first go at entrepreneurship, you're just kind of figuring it out. You're just trying to fly by the seat of your pants. You don't know what's what. Right. And I think this time so I had that crash out similar to you. And I was like, I'm done. Like, girl, I'm done. And then years later, like, you just realize I'm not built to be an employee. Like, I'm just not. And there's nothing wrong with being built that way or the other way. It's just, I'm not built to be that way. So when I came back into business, I have 4 kids, and we had just had our 4th, like 2 days before. And my husband at the time was in a job that he absolutely hated. It made him miserable. He was sick. And I was like, you know what we're going to do? And it was during COVID. I had lost my corporate job. And I was like, you know what? We're just going to quit everything. Like, you're going to quit your job, and we just got this new baby, and we're going to do this entrepreneur thing again. And back, like, we were a little crazy, but it also was like, I knew the tools that I need that time. So, like, to start, I knew I hated bookkeeping. That thing drained my soul when I did it as a wedding planner. So I was like, first up, bookkeeper. Second up, I know the power of community, and now I know the power of a coach. So, like, I had 3 things based on my experiences and my mistakes to do differently this time. And that set me up for success. So I know, number one, I'm not going to get to the point of burnout, because I know the signs, I have the tools. But number 3, like, if I actually did, then I have things that I can lean on. Like, I know what I need. I know what my body needs this time, versus last time where I was just like, I see no way out, and we're done.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. So how do you feel, like, small businesses they support their lives. Like, our income is our mortgage payment and our energy payment. How do you feel like we could build our businesses to not compete with our life? Because I feel like, like life, personal life and business life, it's always some, butting ahead.
Yeah.
So how do we combine them and create that balance?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to the power of planning and making sure that you're planning your weeks in advance. And I think this is, should be easier said than done for wedding planners specifically. But looking at your week in advance and saying, does it feel aligned? Does it feel in synergy? Does it feel balanced? Now, balance is a little bit of a loaded word in this sense, but you have to kind of look at everything that's on your calendar. And that's what I do when I have what I call a wrap-up session. So it's a weekly reflection and planning session at the very end of the week. I invest an hour of my time every week, because I know how powerful it is going into the week ahead. And I make sure that I have things in my calendar that, yes, are work, that, yes, are high value tasks, and that also allow me to be the person who I want to be. And that's another mindset shift that I like to teach people, is like, you could get all the tools to be more productive and do more things and free up your time and create more time. But unless you change your mindset, you're just going to fill it with more things to do, because that's our programming. If I'm doing more, I'm better. And instead of the do mentality, I like to have people start to shift their mindset to more of a be mentality. So if I have more time, if I create more time, what does this allow me to be? And that be looks different for every person. Like, do you want to be a more present parent? Do you want to be somebody who runs marathons and who's super fit? Do you want to be somebody who travels all the time? And so when I'm planning my week in advance with that as well in mind, I want to look at that to make sure that I'm doing things that are aligned with that. And like, for me, I want to be a more present parent with my kids. I've got 4, they're only young, they're only this age for so long. And so things like that movie date, planning my work around my life versus my life around my work, has been really powerful for me.
Awesome. I love that. So if you had to give a piece of advice today to someone who's feeling overwhelmed, what do you think the first thing that they should do tomorrow morning should be?
If we're talking about like an immediate action, the first thing I would say, like put on your calendar to do would be a time audit. Like that's number one. But if we're talking like what's an immediate action, something that I've come up with over the years that has such a benefit to me day by day by day is doing what I call the 4 W's. It takes 4 minutes of your day. You do it in tandem with something else. You don't even need to have an extra 4 minutes. Like you can do it while you're washing the dishes or making lunches for the kids, whatever it might be. But I take a solid 4 minutes a day and I go through my 4 W's. And W number 1 is your win. What was my win from yesterday? Because our minds like to focus on the negative. But if every single day we can start giving it one piece of positive information to start the day, it starts to rewire that over time. Because nothing's going to happen right away. It's not going to be a huge, big shift, but it's all about the tiny shifts that you take. And that win is huge. So that's W number 1 is your win. W number 2 is your will. What will you get done today, no matter what else? And this is not some big grand gesture. It's the thing that's going to feel the best to you at the end of the day that you accomplished it. Or it's a thing that moves you closer to the goal that you set for yourself for the quarter. And then at the end of the day, even if you didn't get all 50 things on your to-do list done, you at least got that one thing, and that's going to feel really good. And sometimes the will becomes the win for the next day, that you actually did the thing that you've been putting off or whatever it might be. And then the third W is your won't. What won't you do today that you did yesterday that maybe wasn't in support of your goals, wasn't in support of who you want to be? Just that self-awareness around one thing. We don't have to be hypercritical of ourselves, but the example I always will give is if you were in bed scrolling on your phone late at night and it made you go to sleep late and it didn't let you get the best sleep possible. Well, today you just won't scroll on your phone late at night. Like you won't scroll immeasurable. Like you won't scroll on your phone past 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. and just put your phone down, turn it over, don't let it glow. And then the last W is your white space. So do you have enough white space in your calendar, what we talked about earlier, that kind of buffer room to account for unexpected opportunities and challenges as they arise? And now that's going to be different per person. You're going to get to that particular amount that's right for you over time, but just starting to play around with that and making sure you have it in your schedule is really important. So if you can spend just 4 minutes every single day doing those 4 W's, game changer. It seems so simple. And sometimes in our mind, again, we're like, but it's not complicated. It's not hard. Like, how can this possibly do the thing that I wanted to do? But it has had a massive impact for me and any of my clients who have stuck with it long term.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sometimes it's the easiest solution, but because it's easy, we're not paying any attention to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So now I have some quick rapid fire questions just for us to get to know you a little bit.
Right.
And it'll be a little fun. All right. So early bird or night owl?
Oh, early bird for sure.
Digital calendar or paper planner?
Oh, that's a really hard one because like I have both, right? Like, and I take my digital and I put it on my paper and I put it on my digital. But if I only had one, I think honestly, probably paper. I really love a paper planner. Yeah.
I'm with you. What is your favorite app of all time?
Ooh, I have so many apps. People look at my phone, they're like, you got apps, and I use all of them. But I think the one that I probably use every single day and I have forever for a very long time is actually, I don't know if you would call it an app. It's a Chrome extension, but it's called Active Inbox. And it helps turn my email into a to-do list and helps me work around. Like we didn't get into it today, but like I do theme days and time buckets. And so it lets me work in that way. So I don't have to go outside of my email to go to a different like Asana or project management. I just can turn my inbox into a project management tool. Okay,
awesome. What is one task you wish you could automate forever?
Dishwashing.
Yeah.
I tried it. Like that was the first. Like we started to do a little bit more chores in the house, just a little bit more accountability. I'm like, oh, my oldest son. I'm like, that you will be a great dishwasher. It's like, totally. Yeah. But so for the longest time, we didn't even have a dishwasher. We were 6 people living in a house, and yeah. So, long story short, I would definitely automate dishwashing if I could.
I bet. And then coffee, tea, or energy drink?
Oh, coffee for sure. Yeah, black.
Oh, awesome. Black, no sugar.
Yes,
I like that. Awesome. So tell us just a little bit more about Structured to Scale and how can our listeners learn more about your speaking, consulting, and other programs?
Yeah. So you can find me on our website, which is structuredtoscale.com. If you want a time audit tool and template, I have a time tracking template. If you want to just like get a glimpse of what that looks like. So you can go to structuredtoscale.com/TTT. And then find me on Instagram. It's Colleen Carswell _ where you can find me. And I really do, like, one of my passions and one of the things that lights me up is connecting with people, just to connect with other humans. So please always feel free to reach out to me, send me a DM. I would love to connect with you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Colleen. I really appreciate you being here. Today's conversation is a reminder that success doesn't come from working harder. It comes from working intentionally. So I really appreciate you sharing, all your strategies. And I hope that some of our listeners, start working on them and implementing them today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.